What up, my lovelies? How are you guys today? Happy Monday, if it is a happy Monday for you. So, I had a very busy weekend, and I got to tell you, I didn't want to share this, but I'm gonna. I was rear ended on Friday evening. Not a terrible, terrible rear ending, but pretty solid, strong thing. I'm concerned about whiplash. So, I thought I'd share. Hopefully, I jinxed it and it'll never happen, right? But yeah, I'm glad it wasn't worse. And I was so irritated. So, how are you guys? I need to go ahead and get started with all my regular stuff. Is my sound all right? Can you hear me? Let's see. Have you guys been watching all this crazy stuff all over the interwebs? We got P. Diddy, Jay-Z. Like, so they came out with an addendum to that lawsuit on a Sunday. I thought that was interesting. On a Sunday? I'm not saying that that's suspicious or anything. I'm just saying that that's odd. But it is the last month of the year, and with the holidays there's no time to waste because pretty much across the boards all of the people that work in the courts take a lot of time off for Christmas and New Year's, and probably let's see, today's the 9th, so yeah, the days are numbered. Absolutely, the days are numbered. So I guess I can see why they would do it on a Sunday in the month of December. But um yeah, it's just got the internet on fire, as does the apprehension of the suspect in the shooting of the insurance CEO, right? The healthcare CEO guy. So let's do all of the stuff, all of the things. Please check to make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. And if you're not, please consider just hitting that button. It's free, it does a world of wonders for the algorithm. Share a video of mine with a friend or on a platform if you like. That's very much appreciated and helpful too. Turn on your notification bell to ring if you want to be notified when I come on live and stuff. So, what I have in my notes today and what I have in my brain weighing on me noggin is primarily about Hannah Kobayashi, you guys. I've been thinking a lot about that case. And also, I wanted to talk about the Raygun, even though I don't really want to talk about the Raygun. She's suing people, one person in particular, but she's ready to sue anybody that dares to do the kangaroo, the sprinkler, or the windshield wiper. So don't even think about it. Wow. Can you say attention, whore? I think that's what we're dealing with here. So let's just jump right into the Hannah Kobayashi case while I can still say her last name because, my brain will twist it all around. I also do want to talk about Madeline Soto's case too. A sad, sad case. Um, I've learned a lot more about Hannah and the whole situation, as I'm sure a lot of you have too, if you've been following this story. So some of the questions have been answered. For instance, where did Hannah work? What was she doing for an actual income? Since we all know that DJing and fire dancing and photography don't necessarily pay unless you've hit the big time, right? Hit the big time. So hitting, I like that word. Hitting. Okay. She worked in a smoke shop on Maui. I can't imagine that that would pay too well. Sorry if I bonked the mic and it made a big noise. I just barely touched it, so I don't know if it made a big noise or not. Anyway, a smoke shop. So she worked in a smoke shop. Nothing wrong with that, of course. And she lived in a trailer, allegedly, on some property on Maui that she didn't have to pay any rent for. Nothing wrong with that either. But what I'm getting at is, how did she and her posse of four, including herself, how did they all afford these tickets to New York City? And how did she afford to prepay the thousands of dollars that her aunt alleges that she paid for the hotel room that she never stayed in New York City? Did the other 3 of them stay in that hotel room in New York City? So we know that Alan Kakasi, I think is how you say his name, Alan Tomas Kakasi. We know that he was sitting next to her on the airplane. And on the other side of him was a Muniz Miranda. Let's remember his name, Amun Muniz Miranda. So Hannah was in 32D, Alan was in 32E, Amun was in 32F. Where was Mariana sitting? Mariana? Where was she sitting, and what in the F is her last name? I think it's really interesting how she's just like left out of the picture. I had this thought over the weekend that and I'm not saying that I subscribe to this thought, but I'm wondering, what if Hannah did not marry Alan in exchange for money? What if she thought that he fell in love with her and he proposed to her and she said yes and they got married 2 weeks before the disappearance or the flight, let's just say 2 weeks before the flight. Because really she doesn't qualify as a disappeared person. She didn't disappear. People wanted to find her that were having trouble finding her, but she was located and people knew where she was. And yeah, if a grown person wants to disconnect from people, they have every right to do so. So she put up that post that I keep going back to on her social media account on December 7th, the day before the flight, that said, "Hell hath no wrath like a woman scorned." I always say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, but her post was hell hath no wrath like a woman scorned. And it begs in my mind the question of, was she heartbroken? Had she just found something out that was really upsetting to her? It's the kind of thing that you would post when you're feeling scorned. So I think it was the day before yesterday. I woke up in the morning with this thought on my brain that just kind of came on its own volition. I didn't put it there. It just kind of created itself. Like, what if what I just said a minute ago about Hannah thinking that Alan had fallen in love with her and wanted to marry her? And then what if she found out that he was still together with his ex girlfriend? And what if she found out that her ex boyfriend had married his ex-girlfriend for a visa, and she found out that they were both paying him for their visas? And what if Hannah was not privy to the deal? And then she figured it out, and then she's on a flight with the 3 of them? Awkward. So in my opinion, the photographs, the still shots of the surveillance when she's in LAX, quote unquote, missing her connecting flight, she looks very relaxed and happy. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what if she'd made up her mind that she was going to just lose these jerks that had been shafting her? In her own words, in a text to her friend, she'd been on a mind F ever since, right? And what if that's why she wanted to get away from her phone so that they couldn't contact her? Maybe her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, and or her husband had the tracker so that they would know where she was, and that's why she maybe left her phone at LAX. I don't know why her phone is at LAX, but my biggest questions are, why the Swiss cheese information? In the beginning, we were told that she missed her flight, and it was implied that she was flying by herself. And then a few days later, it became public that her ex-boyfriend or her boyfriend was on the flight. And then it was like, oh, ex-boyfriend. Why are there all these ex-boyfriends in all these cases? Madeline Soto's case, Kylie Rodney's case, Micah Miller with the ex-husband, Idaho 4 with Jack D. Why so many exes? Breakups are a very trying time for people and can be a very volatile time for men in particular, for women too. I mean, women can be the perpetrators of domestic violence, no doubt. And yeah, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right? So, where was I with all this? What if she didn't know? What if she found out and that was the impetus of why she didn't board the plane to New York City? So, did the other 3 people all arrive to New York? And then how long did they stay? Did they stay in the hotel? I have so many questions. Why are they just dropped? Like, oh, well, they've spoken with a moon and, there's nothing to see over here, folks. What about Alan? What about Mariana? Why is Mariana being so shielded and protected? So we have the seat numbers. Thank you to Zav Girl. I'll put a link to her in the description and some other channels that had it too, but that's where I got it. The flight that they took from Maui to LAX was flight number 254. Hannah was in 32D. Amun was in 32F. And for a while, it was not disclosed that she was married or that this guy Alan was on the flight sitting right in between them. That's the effery that makes me so suspicious of the authorities, because if you really have a missing persons case, which is how this whole thing was presented to the public initially, then why wouldn't you give all this information? Why wouldn't you show us footage of what she looked like at the time rather than just a still shot of the back of her head? I'm not buying that. Again, nobody is here in my chat. I'm so lonely. Please come say hi. We have 5 people that are watching. If you can say hi, just so that I know that it's working, that would be awesome. I won't ask you to do anything other than that. We've got 2 likes. So thank you guys so much for being here. And if you can't say hi because you can't text or whatever, don't get yourself in trouble if you're driving or if you're at work or, just don't even worry about it. You could hit the heart thing and then I would know that the whole thing is connected. But it's good just to see that you're here. Oh, I scared one away. I got 4 people here now and 4 likes. 4 for 4. Lily Shaw, hello. Again, I won't put you on the spot. I don't recognize your name, but it's a pretty name. Thanks for saying hi. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. Where are we at? Yeah. Hannah had journaled that she had an itinerary for when she got to New York City, that she wanted to take Alan to some places. She wanted to take him to Central Park. She wanted to take him over to her aunt's house. It sounds to me like the kind of thing that somebody would want to do with their new husband, in my opinion. So I'm just not convinced that she was in on the scheme. From all the information that I've gotten, I'm convinced that Alan was in on the scheme. I'm convinced that Amun was in on the scheme. And I'm convinced that Mariana was in on the scheme. The reason that I'm convinced that those 3 were in on it is because Mariana is married to Amun. Amun worked at a construction company where he had told his coworkers that he had this great scam, and if they wanted to make some money, he could hook them up with a fake marriage in exchange for someone's visa. And then Alan, still being the boyfriend, of Mariana, who's married to somebody else, would have to know that it's a fake marriage in order to still be her current boyfriend. I mean, of course, there's nothing absolute. Yeah, some people would fly with that, but not many, right? At least not on the surface. Anyway, so Amun and Alan and Mariana, I believe, should be under investigation for visa fraud. So it doesn't really surprise me that they're not being looked at as far as what the public knows with this case. I don't think there's any evidence that Hannah was in on it. And at first, when her family was putting out some statements the last few days, last week, where they were saying to us, the public, please don't jump to any conclusions about Hannah. We don't know. And I thought, well, what could they possibly be alluding to? Because some of these things we do know. So, anyway, that came to me over the weekend that maybe Hannah did not participate in a fraudulent marriage knowingly. Perhaps she got tricked into a fraudulent marriage. And that, again, goes back to some of her texts. She got tricked out of all of her money. I can't even imagine. I mean, if Amun is a professional scammer and then Mariana and Alan are, I don't know if they're both from Portugal and they're in Maui, I would think that they would have to have money to be going from another country into Maui. That's a very expensive place to go to. And then if they were allegedly paying or planning to pay a bunch of money to Alan for Mariana's visa and then potentially for Alan's visa too. Did I say Alan when I meant Amun a second ago? Anyway, yeah, it gets confusing, doesn't it? Oh, thanks for the hearts, my dears. I love you too. So I got 4 likes now and 3 people. That's good though to have more likes than viewers. I mean, I'm kidding. It's just rare that you have more likes than you do viewers. So I appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're here live, whether you're able to chat, or you're lurking, or you're on the replay crew. I really appreciate my viewers. I'm so happy to have this creative outlet. So it helps my mind, and I have to look at these cases. They draw me in. I did not expect to get drawn in by Hannah's case because I thought at the beginning, this case is half baked. This case doesn't have the characteristics of a quote unquote case. It doesn't have the characteristics of something that the police would investigate, especially a department as huge as LAPD. I was glad in my last live, I hope I didn't bore you guys. I was glad that I looked up the largest police departments in our country because I was extremely curious. So I found out that New York City is the largest by far. It's close to 20,000. Chicago is the second largest, and LA is the third largest with about 9,000 officers, I think, if I'm remembering right. And then another 3,000 civilian employees. So 9,000 commissioned officers. And why would their command staff be delivering these pressers about this person who's not really lost, who's just kind of, I don't know, being curious at best? I mean, it's a big city, LA is, with a lot of people being curious at best. It makes no sense to me why they would be focusing on her. So what really got me intrigued, I don't think I was intrigued at all with the case until SF Investigates came out and said, nothing to see over here, folks. And I'm like, dude, really? Why are you even there? I don't like that guy. I don't like him at all. They have a live broadcast as the CEO shooter has been caught. So maybe why not many here? Yeah, that's so true, Lily. And then everybody's paying attention to the P. Diddy thing too. Thanks. I'm just thinking Monday business hours. But yeah, I watched a lot of that live broadcast stuff. And I watched a lot of the P. Diddy stuff too. Yeah. So he's apprehended. and they got him from a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. Man, why is Pennsylvania always the heart of everything these days, huh? It's a very important place. It is, it is, it is. Um, and then, in my last video too, I was talking about the Kentucky judge and the sheriff. I think I kept calling him Mickey Steins, and I think it's Mickey Stein, right? I don't want to keep making that mistake. Let me look that up real quick. And it was new in last week. Oh, maybe it is Mickey Steins. I guess it is. Okay, so I wasn't incorrect. Let me see. See, there's so many different sources and people get it wrong. I think it's Steins. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of us make mistakes online, and then sometimes it blurs what's actually accurate and what's not accurate. So I apologize for when I'm part of the problem. I try really hard to keep it clear, but I talk about so many different cases, it gets confusing. And then sometimes I just trip myself up. But I'm not looking for excuses. I'm just trying to explain myself, trying to mansplain. So, yeah, that case, I've been curious about domestic violence. I've been curious about if Mickey Steins was also exchanging favors with women that were in trouble with the law, legal favors in exchange for personal gratification favors. So it seems that the judge allegedly was in on that he wasn't just loaning his chambers out to the deputy that has been charged and convicted for that abuse of power. It seems that the judge was also doing that, and it seems that there's more than just the two of them, that it was a common thing in that area. So I'm curious why Mickey Steins's wife and daughter haven't said a single thing to anybody about anything. I would imagine that there's a lot of shame and a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen with him. But people do like to talk. So it is odd that it's been so hush hush. But again, we're talking about a very small town. That town is like 2,000 people. That's tiny. And there was already this code of silence and this open secret. How many years had that been going on for? And people are staying quiet, because otherwise you'd have people coming out of the woodwork, talking to the media, talking to social media, making Reddit posts. I mean, there's none of that. The whole town is just closed mouth about it all. So it's very sad for Judge Kevin Mullins' wife and kids. I think he had 2 children. And it's also very sad for Mickey Steins's wife and daughter. So anyway, that one has definitely captured my attention. I'm not that far away. I'm in the state of Ohio, so I'm a few hours away, but not that far away. I'm pretty close to Kentucky. And let's see. So where I left off last week is with Dog the Bounty Hunter talking about this case. Dog the Bounty Hunter. Hey, Annie Ruler. Hello from Vegas. Dog the Bounty Hunter actually knows Hannah in real life. That is wild. So he said that his daughter Cecily was the one who was friends with her, and that they had a few sleepovers a few years back. I think it was maybe like around 6 or 7 years ago, and that they had slept over at each other's houses or one of their houses, maybe Cecily's house. I'm not sure. Um, but he also said that his other daughter, I think the younger one's name is Lisa, that she was quite the sleuth. And so he also mentioned that he's not allowed into the country of Mexico for a while because he got into some trouble there and he promised them that he wouldn't come back. So he was making it clear that he wasn't going to be crossing the border to look for Hannah, but it sounded like he was implying that his daughters would be. So I'm very curious what's going on with that. And I know over the weekend there were a couple of fringe alleged sightings of her, like at a gentleman's club somewhere down there in the Tijuana area, maybe like the Hong Kong Gentlemen's Club or something like that. I don't know if that's fiction. I don't know if that's accurate. I think we'll just consider it fiction for now, since if it was confirmed, I would think that it would be widely covered, right? Don't you guys think so? Oh, um, the insurance company is calling me about my claim, but I'm going to let it go to voicemail. I'll call them back later. Yeah. And in case you missed it, you guys, I was rear-ended on Friday night. I was stopped at a light and somebody came from behind and hit me pretty hard. I didn't think it was that bad at first, but the car is a little bit, it needs to go to the shop. It definitely did some damage to the rear bumper and to the side panel, and hopefully not to my body, but we'll see. So yeah, I had an insurance claim and such a pain in the butt. Hopefully not a pain in the neck, right? Granny watches commercials like a good friend. You're so cute, Annie. Thank you. The shooter wanted to be caught, likely terminal. Um, yeah, so the shooter in the CEO case, you know, I'm just not that captivated by that case. I mean, it is interesting that they wrote on the bullet casings, but that might not be because that was their motive. That might be a red herring that they're trying to pretend that that was the shooter's motive. Um, so yeah, I don't know, like the guy's past. I know I've seen some things online that there were potential reasons other than the insurance company that he was the CEO for denying claims, that perhaps there was other more scandalous stuff that would have contributed to what had happened to his victimization. And yeah, it's crazy that somebody would just run up to somebody on the street in New York City. Unfortunately, that happens, not just in New York. That happens other places other than New York City, and not just big cities. People do some crazy stuff. And luckily, there's a lot of surveillance cameras these days, right? Like, people need to really, if they don't want to get caught, quit committing crimes, because there's surveillance cameras everywhere. For emergency procedures in Cabo with Medicare international coverage, only United Health refused reimbursement. Granny Annie, are you telling me that you have a motive? Sorry, I gotta like take that. That was funny, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, I know. As a mental health counselor, I did some of my own billing at some points in time, and I also helped other people with their billing and followed up on a lot of denials. A lot of denials will get paid if you appeal the denial. They'll just get paid right away. That's just part of what they do, is like they just deny because they know a lot of people won't follow up. Um, and so even if it's completely illegitimate or they have no basis, they'll be like, "Oh, that was just a mistake," and then they'll pay it. But yeah, it's gotten really, really bad over the last 15 years. Like they've gotten more and more creative with all of their reasons to deny. Um, so, oh, okay, different patients. I thought you were talking about your own medical procedures in Cabo, but you're talking about different people. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, yeah, let's try to I wanted to mention some of the things that Nancy Grace talked about with Hannah Kas no, not this again. Koyasaki. Sorry. I am so bad. So Nancy Grace had mentioned at one point in one of her videos covering this a few days ago that she actually said the words, because I wrote it down. I rewound it. I was very careful. I was like, did she really just say that? She said that Hannah could most likely be deceased. Huh. Um, and yeah, where are Alan, Amun, and Mariana? Mariana, where are they now? Did they stay in New York City? Did they stay in that hotel room that was allegedly paid for by Hannah? But now that I've found out that she was living in a trailer, and I think she was living in that trailer with her ex-boyfriend. So if they broke up, this was my thought, you guys. This is my full thought. I don't think I shared like the whole logic. What if Amun dumped her so that she would be heartbroken and she would be an easy mark for Alan to pretend to fall in love with and propose to and marry? What if that was all orchestrated because Amun saw a potential to cash in on his pretty girlfriend, his pretty unsuspecting girlfriend? So if they were living in a trailer together and then he dumps her, then where did she go live? Like, I thought it was very interesting that it took a month before the information about her living arrangement even came into the social media, into the public eye, because that was my question all along, is like, what did she do for income? Where was she staying? We still don't know what any of her family did for income. We don't know like her father's line of industry, her mother's, her sisters, her aunts, other than the aunt having some social media platforms that I really question if the family is not in an illegal line of business, and that's why all of this has been so spotty and that they've been so hesitant to come out and into the public, because you can't, when you're breaking the law, you can't then call the police and say, oh, my partner in crime uh, wronged me, did something illegal, because then it'll be investigated and you'll be found out that you were doing something illegal. Let's see, Granny Annie. Um, yeah, and what about her dad's unaliving? Yep, I know. Let's see. I'm going to just read through real quick. The bladder surgery male could not pee. UHC said not deemed an emergency. Oh, that's gross. Um, yeah. Do you think H is deceased? I wonder. I really wonder if she is. And when Nancy Grace said that, I was like, oh crap! Like I had already been wondering that, because SF Investigates is involved, and because the police are like, oh, we don't need to look for her. See, she's right there. There's the back of her head. We know that that's her. That was her passport. It's like, well, just because it's her passport, that doesn't mean that it's her. And not a lot of people have been talking like that online. I think Nancy Grace is the only other one that I've seen go down that rabbit hole. And yeah, we have to be skeptical of everything, in my opinion. So I sure hope that she's not, but I think it's quite, I think it's a possibility. Absolutely. Um, Lily, my guy, says she went to Tijuana or Cabo for high dollar dance place or escort. She looks expensive to me, not typical rug addict. Well, she's beautiful. And, at first, when this case came into social media, into true crime venue, we didn't have that many photographs and videotapes of her. We're getting more and more, and some of them look very curated to me. So I've wondered all along if they could be from like an OnlyFans or Craigslist back page kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I've wondered that too, Annie, and not to throw shade her way at all, just trying to make sense of what's going on and why the Swiss cheese of information, right? And yeah, her dad's unaliving, Lily, really good question. I'm not convinced that that was self-inflicted. I'm just not. It's too easy to say that. Um, Granny, no, Hannah looks very attractive. Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's gorgeous. I think she's drop dead gorgeous. Some of the photos aren't that flattering, especially the ones that we saw at the beginning. It was like they were trying to show us the homeliest photos in the beginning, and then all these like super gorgeous photos that she had on her social media. And again, are those curated for more than just social media purposes? Is it something else? He had blunt force trauma on the head from fall or an object. Did she disgrace him? OnlyFans, etc. Yeah, yeah. Multiple blunt force trauma on the head, I think, is what somebody was saying in the chat last week, and that could imply something other than a fall. But I think that it would be possible to have multiple on the head from a fall. When trigger warning, when a body hits pavement, it does bounce. And we don't know if it hit a blacktop or cement, because a blacktop has a lot more give than cement. So if it was a blacktop, is again, pardon the visual, but there is more bounce on a blacktop for sure than just cement. I mean, I think a blacktop is like 10,000 more times more bouncy, for lack of a better term. Hey, C3PO, what's up? My gut says she went to TJ. Yeah, my gut says that might not be her crossing the border. That's what my gut says. Granny, it's a bit extreme to commit unaliving, but why didn't H react? She was on Instagram. Yeah, and it doesn't make sense that he would do that in the middle of, I think he'd been searching for her for 2 weeks, and unless she is no longer with us and he found that out. Maybe that's evidence that she's not on this earth anymore. He was privy to it. Then that would make sense. But I don't want to like convolute the case. I think it's a very easily convolutable case. There's a new word, because of the Swiss cheese of information. And we're all just waiting with bated breath to fill in all the gaps. And I don't know that they're going to get filled in. I really don't. Let's see. Some dancers and escorts are just companions for lonely rich men, not all about boinking, I think. Absolutely. And at the same time, there's a price. Everybody has their price, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's what a lot of them say, but that's just like wink, wink, right? You can pay extra. Maybe worried about her location being traced. How can they confirm her from the back? Exactly. They can't. They can confirm, like, yeah, that's her passport, but unless they're going to show her face to her family, especially because they haven't even showed her family, there's absolutely no way they can confirm it from the back of her head. And if they have videotape surveillance, why are they choosing a frame that's the back of her head? That's freaking lamer than the Kylie Rodney case with the last proof of life alleged photo of her in the deli convenience place, right? Granny boinking. How old is H? H is 30. I think she turns 31 this month, which is interesting because I think it was first when the case first came out. I think, hold on one second. Hello, this is O. Oh, okay, no problem. Thank you so much. You too. Bye bye. Okay. So, yeah. Let's see. That was the chiropractor from the thing, the rear ending, potential whiplash. Hope not. Pray for me, you guys. It's just one thing after another, isn't it? Um, aren't there videos of her crossing the border? Right. There are videos of her crossing the border, but they're not showing them publicly and they're not even showing them to the family. And that's insane. My price is a hot dog and beer, Granny Annie. You're a cheap date, aren't you? No evidence of truth. Granny Annie, surely two hot dogs. Oh no, now you're making me think of NK from the Watts case with what she was Googling before her last date with Chris Watts. Oh, disgusting. Disgusting. Not displaying the videos is sus AF. Well, and especially not to the family. It'd be one thing if they're not displaying them to us, but they were literally talking out of both sides of their mouth, in my opinion, when they say, we're not looking for her. She's not a missing person. It's not a, it's a closed case because there's nothing to see over here. No crimes have been committed. And then at the exact same time, they're like, if anybody has a sighting of her, please contact the LAPD. What? You can't have it both ways. If you are asking the public to help you find her, that means you're looking for her. If you're taking time out of your busy day to do a press conference on a national media level, that's a thing. That's absolutely a thing. Haven't seen the photo from the Mexico crossing. It's just the back of her head. Like, I mean, sweatpants, sneakers, hoodie, and not the tie-dyed sweatpants, but just light colored sweatpants and a suitcase next to her and her passport, not the photo of her passport, but the actual passport, like my little passport earrings. I got to show them off again because they're so freaking adorable. And like I showed them last week, they have little pages and everything. So her actual passport, but closed like that, where you just see the blue and the gold, is in the photograph. So it's like, oh, so it must be her because it's the back of a brown haired person's head who's roughly the same height and weight. Like, that's way too vague. How many people? What, I think she's probably like 5'6" and 135 pounds with straight brown hair just below the shoulder. Like, how many people have those exact dimensions with that exact hair? Right? Hello. Hello. Um Twist my arm, mustard and kraut, please. Headed to meet a friend at Fremont Street. Can almost smell them. I was expecting you to spell meat, MEAT, Annie. It's the back side, and honestly, the pic looks like a heavier person than the original pics. Yeah, I thought it was very unflattering too. I thought she's not that big. I mean, in a lot of the photos of her, she's very, very slender. Some of them are less flattering physically. Some of that can be camera angles or, just times when she wasn't as slender, but she's a very slender individual. She's in very good shape. So, also being 30, I want to say she might have been having a little bit of a midlife crisis, especially if she got dumped and then she got married and then she found out that it was a scam and that she'd been had. Like, that would really put a lot of people into a tailspin. I mean, think about it if that was you. Being dumped is really bad. Then getting married, as exciting as that is, it's also a huge life change. And then 2 weeks later, if you were to find out that it wasn't what you thought it was, I don't know, you guys. I don't know. My lips are all dry. Let me put on some chapstick real quick. Yeah. The shoes looked identical, however, a very common brand. I know, I was looking at the shoes too. I think they were black with white soles. They looked like running shoes. Annie says, since May, a new med, and I am more active. My guy is getting a little insecure. I take public transit. Quite the selection of hot dogs here. You are too hilarious, Annie. You are so funny, girl. Maybe someone is with her so they can't show the video. Oh, good question or good comment, Lily. Absolutely. Maybe somebody is with her and they don't want that information out there. That's a really good point. Shoes looked identical. Okay, read that one. Looks like good news for our Jazz. Oh, with the chiropractor? I don't know. I mean, it's only been 2 or 3 days, and whiplash, the window of how quickly it can set in, I think it can take up to 6 weeks, can't it? I have not had to deal with it for many years, but I have dealt with it in the past, and I remember so it can take a long time before it is significant. So, hey Fred, what's up? All by herself in picture. Um, yeah, looks like A6. See, you're good, C3PO. I didn't identify a brand at all because, yeah, the black fabric is just plain and the white rubber sole is just plain. So I didn't even think about like what brand it might be. But why were we told at the beginning of the case with Hannah that they sat separately and not that there was somebody that they both knew sitting between them? Because they weren't sitting separately. That's a flat out lie. They were sitting together. They just weren't right next to each other. That's not sitting separately. They were sitting together. So that was a straight up bald face lie to the public. I think that's important to note. That wasn't like an accidental lie. Like, oh, well, we didn't know that somebody that was sitting between them was someone that they knew. It's like, yeah, the way it was presented initially with the different seat numbers and letters was like, okay, so Amon was in 32F and Hannah was in 32D. Is there a 32E? If there was it empty? Was there a stranger in it? No. There was her husband in it and her ex-boyfriend's wife's boyfriend. You just can't make this stuff up. So where are these three? How come they're not being interviewed? How come they're not being pressed about their scam marriages? Okay, I'm done hitting that into beating that dead dog. Let's talk about Maddie Soto. Maddie Soto, and I'm sure all of you that watch my channel regularly, and even those that don't are probably familiar with this little 13-year-old whose life was extinguished by her mother's ex-boyfriend, allegedly. He's been arrested but not tried. So he's been charged but not convicted, basically. And the more we learn about the case, the more it seems that not only did Jen know a lot more than she's tried to make out, but that his parents knew a lot more than they tried to make out, and that they really were covering for their dirtbag son. And that's just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Um, Ninja Chihuahua has done such an amazing job of breaking down all the nitty gritty with all of the minutia of all of the lies that these people tell. So I already put a link in the description to her latest video, which is talking about things with the dogs. So Chris and Deb, Steven Stern's parents, Chris Stearns and Deb Stearns, they bred standard poodles. They still do breed standard poodles. So there's dogs in the story from that, and then there's dogs in the story from the little dog that Jen and Maddie had. So a lot of the information from Jen's dog and from the Stearns poodles seems like it's literally thrown into the story by Jen or by Stefan's mother and father, because he's fancy. Um, that they're throwing that information in there to muddy the water. So it's a lot of superfluous information, like unnecessary, and it's a lot of straight up lies that don't even make sense. So I'm not going to break that down. I'll just direct you to Ninja Chihuahua's most recent, because she's so freaking amazing with it. I got to email her and ask her she should be a lawyer if she's not. Maybe she is. Maybe she's a retired attorney. She knows her stuff, and she knows dogs too. She's a dog lover. I'm a dog lover. But like Chris, Stefan Stearns's father was saying how they use their cars like a puppy ambulance. So there's like a lot of blood and stuff in it, and urine and all this stuff. It's just like disgusting. You're trying to say you don't clean that up. Like, I don't buy it, because that would make your car reek. Like, you would never be able to get in it. And even if it is just designated for taking pets places, you still clean that crap up. I mean, literally, right? Let's see. No notification again, Fred. I have Isaacs, wouldn't know the difference. When did it come out that they knew more? Yuck. Yeah, it's come out in the last week. Like, they've been really slow to release the information. So yeah, they're lying to us. The cops have been lying to us. The family's been lying to us. And it's like, that's expected when things are under investigation. But when you're asking for the public's help to find somebody, you need to put all the relevant facts forward, or you're not going to be able to find that person. The public's not going to be able to help. Poor Maddie. Nobody was looking after her. I know, that poor girl. And she was so cute, so spunky. She had so much personality, so much spirit. It's just unbelievable what was done to her. Is there a link to her channel video? Yeah, it's in the description, Lily. Thanks for asking. I already, usually I don't put the links in there until afterwards, but today I put some of the links in right before I started. So that's one of them that's in there. So yeah, I put a True Crime Rocket Science video in there for some of the updates about Hannah Kobayashi. My deepest apologies. Okay. Hannah's case. All right. I got True Crime Rocket Science in there. I've got who else? Ninja True Crime with the latest about the dogs. There were a couple others that I already put in there too. Which were they? Um, the Jay-Z stuff, you guys. We got to talk about that. And then the arrest with the douchebag in Pennsylvania that shot the CEO in New York City. Um, so I think one of the links that I put in there is about the Jay-Z lawsuit. So that lawsuit was just the addendum was just filed yesterday. I was blown away that it came out on a Sunday night. And then today I found out that it was actually filed on a Sunday. I didn't know that you could file things on a Sunday. That's just wild, wild, wild. I don't even know if I believe that, but I wouldn't know how to fact check that. So that's what they're saying. So all that came out last night. So the initial lawsuit against Diddy was filed in October about this person who says that around 23 or 24 years ago, when she was 13, that she was violated by Diddy. And then the addendum says that it was Jay-Z who did it too. So, of course, he's denying everything adamantly, which doesn't mean he didn't do it. That's pretty much standard procedure and protocol. When you're accused of anything, you deny everything categorically. That's just what people do, guilty or not. So Jay-Z is coming out swinging, and I think it's important to bring Aaliyah up at this point in time with all of these cases, because Jay-Z hung out with P. Diddy and R. Kelly. And R. Kelly had been married to Aaliyah. We all know that Aaliyah passed away in a small plane crash returning from the Bahamas from a music video shoot that she was doing down there. And allegedly Jay-Z had a thing for her at the time when she passed away, which was also around the same time that Jay-Z got together with his wife. So there's always been a lot of scandal there with what happened to Aaliyah before she passed away. I think she was 21 or 22 by the time that accident happened. She'd been married to, and I think divorced from, R. Kelly when she was 15, because he had been abusing her for a long time, and she was with child, and he wanted to get that taken care of. And by marrying her and saying that she was 18, then he had the authority to do that. I mean, it's so freaking sad and disgusting. Um, but yeah, um, Jay-Z and his wife are kind of side-eyed in the whole plane crash situation that Aaliyah passed away in. From what I've learned in researching all the P. Diddy stuff and all the R. Kelly stuff, it's a lot. It's a lot. And yeah, I wouldn't think that this person is going to come out 23, 24 years later and make these heinous allegations if it's not true. Because when you make allegations like that, you're really sticking your neck out and you're embarrassing yourself, even if it is true. You're putting a target on your back, even if it is true. If it's not true, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. So I don't think that it's false allegations. I don't. And it's not uncommon for addendums to be made to lawsuits like that. Um, MC3PO, I don't know if you can put a link to Ninja if you want to try, if you're able to, then it's right there in the chat too. But only if you're able to. If you can't, don't worry about it. Like I said, it's already in the description. You have to lean Yeah, you have to clean blood. Give me a break. Yeah, I mean, and your dogs aren't going to be bleeding in your car when you're taking them to the vet if you're a breeder. I mean, sure, maybe when they're giving birth, maybe if they've been injured, but how often are your dogs bleeding? And if they're bleeding, aren't you going to have a towel there for them? It's insane. That disgusts me about Maddie. Yeah, yeah, it's gross. It's gross the way they're trying to muddy the water with all these dog stories. Again, it's almost like putting her at the same level as a dog. Like Chris is trying to explain away, oh, well, if the luminol lights anything up, don't go thinking it's human until you have it tested. It's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, it's bad enough that they enabled their 40-year-old son to be such a deadbeat. And it's a whole nother level of disgusting for them to be covering for him when they know damn well, in my opinion, that he snuffed her out. And maybe it was for a snuff film. Ugh. Trigger warning. I mean, I know people have speculated maybe it was accidental with substances. It's hard to say, but I still think that it had to do with pregnancy. I still think it had to do with pregnancy, simply based on the coins that she had asked him to buy for them, that she said that they needed, the new parent coins that help decide whose turn it was to change the diaper or what have you, to wake up in the middle of the night with the baby. Lily, I feel the cash would lead her mom to charges. 2022 vehicle purchase in 2023 proved the income source. Me disability since 2011. No extra nickels for new cars. Oh, you're talking about Maddie Soto's mom? Yeah, because she said she was on disability. Um, C3PO says, sorry, I will not be able to post the link from today's device. It's off the chain, those MF parents. Yeah, it's also off the chain the way Jen is trying to explain away to the police how she got woken up in the middle of the night, that Stefan was going to take her dog out to go to the bathroom and it woke her up, and then he said go back to sleep, and she's trying to use that as her alibi, that she was asleep the whole time. Being asleep is not an alibi. That's like a non-alibi. That's like not having an alibi. But yeah, I mean, she was kind of like asleep metaphorically in her life, in my opinion, but I don't think she was oblivious to what was being done to her daughter. She wasn't shocked when she saw the most disgusting pictures that would like kill most parents. Like, the police showed her a photograph of her daughter's mouth, trigger warning, with her ex-boyfriend's junk in it, and both are easily identifiable by birthmarks or something. I mean, we know that Maddie had some birthmarks on her face, but it sounds like I haven't watched any of those videos people have been making about his freaking package, because that's just TMI. I don't want to know nothing about that. Disgusting. Anyway, when shown a photo on Stefan's phone by the police, her response was, oh, well, that doesn't mean that he did anything evil to her. Like, most parents would completely come crawling out of their skin, like seeing a photograph like that. You would be ready to kill. You would be completely emotional, upside down. You'd be like having an out of body experience, wouldn't you? Give me a break. And then they're like, excuse me, not evil. What are you saying? What are you saying? And then she tries to explain, well, just because he did that, I don't think he would, end her life. It's like, well, that by itself is extraordinarily evil, extraordinarily evil. And then the next words that come out of her mouth was something to the effect of, we need to make sure he has a good defense attorney. Or like, did she text somebody that, like to his parents or something? I mean, that was where her mind went. Like she knew. She was selling her daughter out, if not selling her daughter. I mean, we all have suspicions about her being involved with some CP types of enterprise with Stefan. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely gross. Um yeah, the newly 13-year-old. Yeah, and she'd only just turned 13. I mean, really she was 12 up until a couple of days before her demise. Like how sad. I mean, just a baby. 13 is when you're just starting to become a young woman, a young adult, a young person. I mean, even at 30 is when you're really starting, and going back to Hannah's case with her being 30. I feel the cash will lead her mom to charges. Okay, sorry, I missed that one. Um, he bought a pew pew. He didn't pack for a week. Mom said he came home for a week. Oh, you're talking about Stefan? She told a girlfriend she was running away. Did she tell him that from the birthday party? Um, his other girlfriend said he had ED issues unless she played dead. Ew! Granny Annie, you know too much about this case. I'm just kidding. Oh, see, I have tried to miss most of this because that's really disgusting. That's really disgusting. So he had to be in full control. Oh, I thought law enforcement said not PG, but they could be lying. Well, yeah, they did say that, and I do think that they're lying, Fred. I mean, I've thought that from the beginning because law enforcement was very interested in her cycle and the dates, and there were also the texts between Maddie's mother and Stefan about the same thing. Nobody's going to be covering that material if it's not relevant. Um, and he's such a disgusting piece of crap already. The public just couldn't handle him also not only fathering a child with a 12-year-old, but also then taking the life of both the 12-year-old that just turned 13 and the baby. That's like more than general population can really assimilate in their brains. And yeah, it happens, unfortunately. But I don't think that even if it is 100% true, I don't think it's ever going to be um, revealed as such in the case because they always sugarcoat things. They always whitewash things. They don't ever let the whole disgusting truth come out to the public. Information is on a need to know basis. Always and forever, everywhere, in my opinion. Oh, I didn't do my disclaimer. Let me cover that real quick. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation and open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. And all my videos are made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. Please hit your thumbs up like button if you don't mind. It's much appreciated. And read a few more of your comments here. I feel Jen experienced a sad childhood, generational, in my opinion. Well, she had a really nice place to live. I don't have any sympathy for her. Um, I mean, that's a cute little townhouse that her father rented her. And if she experienced a sad childhood, then that should give her even more reason to be a good parent, to heal her own inner child and to not repeat the cycle. Um, I had a sad childhood. I mean, I had a really sad childhood, but I have always tried to be the best parent that I know how to be. And a lot of times I do fall short because, I like to say I was raised by a couple of wolves in a barn that the wolves weren't even there. So there was a lot of neglect. And, they divorced, my parents divorced when I was really young. Like probably by the time I was 6 months or a year old, they were already split up. And then the divorce came through maybe by the time I was 5. Um, and they were both just very unstable, and they both were very narcissistic, and they both were the types of people that really shouldn't have children, but they did. And I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm glad that I survived it, because I almost didn't. And a lot of the danger with poor parenting is the neglect. I mean, the abuse is one thing, and I wasn't necessarily abused other than the neglect and the time that my father tried to poison me and my sister in a car with carbon monoxide. I mean, other than that gaffe, momentary lapse of reasoning, I don't really identify myself as an abused person at all. I mean, which is twisted because that by itself is abuse. And like I said, neglect is abuse, but we're not taught that. Most fatalities with children are not from physical violence. It's usually from the neglect. And most child protective service cases where they take children out of the home are not for physical abuse. It's for neglect to the point of it being life threatening. So it's something to really wrap your mind around. And looking at Madeline Soto and Jen Soto, like look at all that neglect. Look at her just basically checking out and basically sleepwalking through her life. Look what that did, how that played out in the daily experiences of the life of her young daughter. And then for her young daughter's life to end right after turning 13. Absolutely disgusting. Um, so yeah, like I don't even care if Jen had a sad childhood. I say screw her, man. She needs to go to jail for what she allowed to happen to her daughter. And I think that she allowed it with eyes wide open, sending them to go to bed together. Like, give me a freaking break. Like, how stupid does she think the rest of us are? As stupid as she pretends she is? Granny, I think that's Jen's mom, told her she couldn't come home and stay when she was 20. I feel lucky my mom would always want me. Maybe she didn't know how to love. Yeah, and a lot of 20-year-olds don't want to go back to their parents' homes. So, we don't know, looking at what kind of adult Jen was, we don't know what she put her mother through either. So, I just don't think there's any explanation for what she did to her daughter and what she allowed to be done to her daughter. And then for her to try to protect the person who not only violated her daughter, but also ended the life of her daughter. And she knew it. She knew it. My childhood sucked, C3PO says, big time. Yeah, Lily's correcting the Ken to Jen. I never repeated the abuse or neglect because I needed to prove I could. Right, but it is hard when you don't have role models. It is hard, but, I used my friends' parents as role models. I used my grandparents as role models. I mean, honestly. I mean, you just kind of, pick and choose. You can read books, you can watch movies. I mean, there's books about parenting, there's, television shows and movies about parenting with that title. I mean, parenting is hard no matter what. And, every time you think you have it mastered, you got another thing coming, right? They switch it up on you. Like nothing can really prepare you for being a parent, in my opinion. Even if you had a perfect childhood, which who did, right? Who did? Um, it's no excuse for her behavior. I feel sorry for Maddie's school friends. They really have to be shocked and depressed. Oh, Fred, such a good point. Yeah, the teachers too. And they're I'm sure they're all kicking themselves and feeling very guilty for not figuring it out, especially the grown-ups, especially the teachers and the counselors and probably Jen's own mother. Yeah, Fred, they probably feel shock. And, I think it's natural to feel the guilt, the survivor's guilt, and to question, the woulda, shoulda, coulda. Is it possible she left to Mexico? Renee, Anaya. Um, you're going back to the Hannah case, right? I think that it's possible, but I don't think that it's absolute. The law enforcement is trying to present it as a fact, and I don't trust them because where's their proof? Other than that, we can just take their word for it and trust the photograph of the back of somebody's head. Fred Field says, I don't understand how Stefan thought he would get away with this. Well, yeah. I mean, criminals are stupid. Otherwise, they wouldn't be criminals. And he obviously put a lot of thought into trying to cover his tracks. And yeah, gaslighters be gaslighting. I mean, that's what so much of what Ninja Chihuahua is breaking down is all the gaslighting by Jen, all the gaslighting by Stefan's parents. And gaslighters just keep it coming at you like 1,000 miles per hour. It's a dumpster fire poop fest, and it's really hard to keep up and to break down each lie when they're just bombarding you with 10,000 new lies, right? So how do you backtrack and keep trying to unravel each one of them? Like you just throw your hands up in the air. It's ridiculous. You can't do it. You can't keep up with their crap. So yeah, I'm disgusted that Jen thinks that she can get away with pretending she was asleep and pretending she didn't know, pretending that she thought that their super close connection was appropriate or platonic or anything like that. Like, screw her. Screw her. Not sorry. Yes, eyes wide open and likely threesome. Gross, but cis friend roommate said Jen is bi. Ew, Granny Annie. Again. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. TMI. Ugh. Yeah, because Maddie would sleep in between the two of them, allegedly when they were together prior to the breakup, 6 months prior to the homicide. And Stefan would wake up with a thing. Gross. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But yeah, I mean, Jen has zero boundaries, so nothing would surprise me. Absolutely. And she was so desperate for Stefan's attention and affection. It seems like she would have done anything to try to keep him in her life, including serving her daughter up on a silver platter. And yeah, maybe engaging in some situations like that. Fred, no body, no crime, but flat kept her from alligators, in my opinion. Got trafficked or unalived there. Yeah, absolutely. And so sad the connection that both Jen and Stefan had with um, Disney World, and just how much connection CP seems to have with Disney World, and the trafficking rings, the child trafficking rings have to do with Disney. It's really disgusting. Like like they could do something about that if they wanted to, in my opinion. They're enough of a superpower with enough money and enough attorneys. I mean, ugh, I think Jen even did. I have to go. It's dinner time in the UK. Late one. Lovely chat. Thank you, Justice, and everyone. Well, thank you. Nice to meet you, Lily. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for saying goodbye. And yeah, I'm going to sign off shortly here, too. It's already been an hour and 20. Lily, the croc in Mom's room. I think Mom choked. Stefan was going to shoot, in my opinion. Mom beat him to it. Fred. Oh, yeah, he's going to solve everything. Oh, I feel so bad for so many people that are going to be so screwed. Yeah, he's saying that he's going to deport people that were born in the U.S. He's going to take away that birthright of citizenship if their parents weren't naturalized citizens. Oh man, so scary. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I hope he can solve some things. I really do. I hope that he does solve some things. I hope that he was just talking smack, all the crazy stuff he said, all the racist, disgusting crap. I hope that he was just blowing smoke. I hope that he can do good things, but I'm very concerned, very, very concerned. Yeah, the croc in the room, Granny Annie. Uh, Thanks for taking us back to that. So Maddie she wore Crocs a lot, like a lot of kids do, and one of them was on her mother's dresser in her mother's bedroom. The other one was in a garbage bag with her backpack and laptop that Stefan had put that garbage bag in a dumpster. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And again, how stupid are these freaks that they don't keep the two shoes together? But yeah, maybe they didn't know what happened to the other one. Maybe the mom didn't notice the one on her dresser, because yeah, you would think that they would have taken care of that before law enforcement got it. But thank goodness that they're so stupid so that they can be caught, because it can be hard to put these cases together even when they have mountains of evidence. And if they don't have a confession, and then, most confessions are not true and accurate, like in the Watts case, but law enforcement will often accept a confession just because then they can prosecute the case. So they'll take what they can get. All right, you guys, I am going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining me. Did I cover all of the stuff I wanted to cover? I think I did. If not, I'll get to it in tomorrow's video. Hopefully I'll have another 5 for 5 videos of the weekdays this week. Peace out, love and light. Have a really good afternoon. I hope that you can take really good care of yourself, get your nourishment, stay hydrated, and just be easy on yourself. Just be yourself. That's the most important thing. And I'm going to say love and light. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.